Okay, so today we've had all kind of technical difficulties. We've already been into the show for probably about 7 or 8 minutes when Shelly just happened to be observant and realized that maybe we weren't live. So I'm using a new service, and this new service is supposed to handle my Facebook and my YouTube page connection and make us live so that we can go live with both at the same time. Apparently it's now working. Go to the OBS
I think we
screen. And we're just going to double check that one right there and to the left. Boom, tap on that. All right, so yes, it looks like we are, you went away from it.
I know,
okay,
I just
stay
put
there.
the cursor.
Okay, so we're live. Now go back to the other screen. And so anyhow, the ins and outs of going live in your own home with your own computer, with your own brain, old brain. So in learning how to do all of this, it's been difficult today. We've had a lot of hiccups today. I had to go and help her at work for a couple of hours. I prepared a lot of slides and a lot of video about our primary subject today. And for some reason, about 5 minutes before 7 o'clock, when I was doing our final sound check, I looked over and noticed that all of the new stuff that I created had vanished. And the first thing I said was, Shelly, what'd you do? And she said, I was in the other room. So anyhow, in an effort to kind of make the show go better and smoother, I try to use some new tools that I learn about. The problem is that I also train dogs full time and I have kids all weekend. So I put probably less time than I should have into practicing the new thing.
Yeah, you try new stuff, but we don't ever usually try it out completely before the show. So we're always picking on you guys and letting you guys be our beta testers, I guess is a better.
Yeah, it's like you're the guinea pigs. Mm-hmm. And so anyhow, in an effort to get this thing working, I tested it last week. It worked amazing. I push one button, it opens up a channel between Facebook and YouTube, and it creates a live show. It was really great. Then tonight when I did it, it said, whoops, this isn't your personal page anymore. Now you got to pay for it. Mm-hmm. So I don't mind paying for a service that's worth paying for. So I pay for it, and then suddenly all my content's gone.
It's all gone.
And so
we're winging it, kind of. Not really winging it, but we don't have all the.
We're winging the technology part. Right. I'm not going to have cool slides or videos. So here's the subject that I stumbled across this week. It came up in a virtual training session. And then when it did, I decided to dig in and do a little research because you know me, I've got to research.
Yep.
So I found out the #1 cause of toddler deaths in the home below 4 years old in the continental United States.
I think everybody knows what that is.
Really? I'm not sure.
Wow.
So we'll see. If anybody comments it below, they know what it is before I say it, that's fine. This cause of death is also the #1 cause of death for teenagers under 14. Actually, it's the #2 cause of death for teenagers under 14. And basically, it's a swimming pool. And a swimming pool is also responsible for around 5,000 family pets that drowned in the pool. Mostly dogs, occasionally cats drowned in a pool.
Horrible topic.
So she hates it when we talk about dangerous topics for dogs.
I just don't like it when it's sad.
In fact, I'm pretty certain if me and Ruckus were hit by a car, she would run to Ruckus and say, dude, are you okay? And I'd say, well, my leg's over there. So anyhow, Shelly loves animals, and she gets very upset when we talk about dangerous things for animals. But here's the thing.
It's something they need to be aware of.
This can be a preventable thing. So here's what happens with my clients. This has happened for years. I've done this probably over 1,000 times. When I'm in front of a client that has a swimming pool in the backyard, I usually say, we should do a training session teaching your dog to get out of the pool. Mm-hmm. And I've had people say, I don't want my dog to learn to get out of the pool because then he'll get in it.
I don't want my dog in the pool at all.
I don't want my dog in the pool at all. And so people visualize they're having a cookout and the dog's running around the pool and the kids are playing in the pool and the dogs don't get in the pool and they go inside and it's hot as Hades outside. And then suddenly, bam, the dog's in the pool. Dogs will go to take a drink of water out of the pool. Dogs will climb down on the first step and fall in the pool. Sometimes they're reaching for a toy that fell in the pool and they fall in the pool. When a dog falls in the pool, they are at a severe disadvantage. And we're going to talk about the two main disadvantages to a dog being in a in-ground swimming pool. Advantage or disadvantage number one is that when a dog gets in a swimming pool, there's a steep ledge and there's deep water. So a dog tends to orient vertically when they're in the water. So their back legs are way down and their front legs are up, and they're trying to swim in a vertical position. Dogs do not swim well in a vertical position. It's very important when a dog is swimming that they're horizontal.
Okay.
If they're not horizontal, they do not swim well at all. They get very little motion forward, and as a result, they plop the water much harder. They become frantic, and that causes them to be tired, and that's how a dog can drown, even in an open lake. If they jump out of a boat and there's no ground there and they've never swam before, some dogs jump out of the boat and they swim like a fish right away.
Right.
Other dogs need to be taught how to swim. So years ago, a friend of mine had 2 French bulldogs, and she said, "Oh, I read that French bulldogs can't swim." And I said, "Yes, they can. All dogs can swim." And so her friend had just put in a pool, so we went next door, and 5 minutes later, both dogs were swimming around the pool. Well, as soon as we put them in the pool, they started to go down because they were vertical. So what I did is I put them on a leash, and I pulled forward on the leash until they were horizontal. All right. When they were horizontal at that point, they were able to swim. And so once I kept them horizontal a little bit and they figured that out, they worked out whatever they needed to work out to get that horizontal position, and Bodie and Champ swim around that pool like experts.
Got it.
So when a dog goes in from a lakeside, they're horizontal already.
Yeah, because they're walking in the land, like
they're
walking down the shore.
Exactly. And as they're walking in, they start swimming before their back feet leave the ground. And so essentially what happens then is they swim out, and it's just natural for them to swim back to the place of origin.
Right.
When a dog falls in a pool, one, they're not going to be horizontal, they're going to be vertical. And if they don't already know how to orient themselves horizontal and get into the horizontal position to swim, they're doomed. They can't swim very long straight up. Then the other part of it is a dog instinctively returns to the point that they went in the lake.
Which isn't necessarily good in the pool because it's the side of the pool.
It's the side of the pool. And so the water level is way down here, and then the ledge of the pool is way up here. And I've had clients tell me they found their dog at the edge of the pool with bloody fingernails trying to claw their way out of the pool. And what's happened is they panicked, and they're scratching and clawing, and they cannot get out of the pool. Well, as a dog panics, they exert more energy.
Right.
And so they eventually exhaust themselves, and that's what happens when a dog or a cat drowns. They just can't find their way out of the pool. So today I want to talk about some safety things. So number one, because of so many children that drowned in a pool, and toddlers, and then older children that are between the ages of 5 and 14, that is the second leading cause of death, accidental deaths in the home. And so if somebody has a pool, they have these safety things they want you to do. One, have a back door that leads to the pool that has a chime on it. So if you're sitting in the house and you hear, you know that back door has opened. I don't really think it was
that one. They were usually that loud. They're like beep, beep.
Well, it just depends on whether you use an alarm system.
Pretty loud.
Pools, you can now buy specialty beepers for a back door that are designed for a pool that are extremely loud. They also now have pool gates that are fabric that are made to stand up completely around the pool. And they have child safety locks on the gates so the children can't open those gates and get in the pool. Well, smart. A dog can get over that a lot faster than a child.
Right.
All right. So even if you have the back door chime and you have the fence around the pool, you also have to teach your dog to get out of that pool. Now, if you think teaching your dog to get out of the pool is going to teach him it's okay to get in the pool, you're kind of right. So there's a way for me to teach a dog not to get in the pool. And all you have to do is put them in the pool, and when they get to an edge that doesn't have stairs, you let them struggle for a minute until they get a little spooked. Then you pick them up out of the pool yourself, and you never let them find the steps. Now, if you did that a couple of dozen times, your dog would be scared of the pool. I don't think that's very practical.
Oh, I know. I was like, I feel like this is not a good decision.
If it's hot enough, they may decide, you know what, maybe I can get out this time. So my advice always to all of my clients is teach your dog to get out of the pool. So it's a very simple process. Number one, you have to carry the dog to the opposite side of the pool from the steps.
Okay.
I also go to the closest place of origin to the steps. Now, there's a couple of rules here when we do this. Rule number one, you don't want to set your dog in the pool without having a leash on him.
Okay.
If you put him in the pool without having a leash on him, you can't help him go horizontal. And you also can't help him find the steps. And then you find yourself jumping in the pool.
It's like always, most of all of your training is always with a leash.
Always on leash. So if it's a rectangular shaped pool, somewhat like this, all right, and it's a long rectangle, what I would do is I would go catty corner to the steps so that when I set the dog in the pool, or the client sets the dog in the pool, there is not a side of the pool that's real close to them.
Yeah.
If you have a rectangular shaped pool and you put the dog right here, he may try to go to this wall or this wall, and it's hard to prevent him from doing that, even if you're right over top of him.
Okay.
So hold your finger like that. All right, give me this hand. So what I would do is I would put the dog here if the steps were right there. All right, and when I set the dog in the pool, he can't really go this way or this way because I'm using forward pressure on the leash.
Okay.
Thank you. That forward pressure on the leash is me guiding the dog with the leash directly toward the steps. Now, the first 1 or 2 times that they put the dog in the pool, I'm acutely aware that if the dog's body is vertical, they're going to sink. They can't swim as easily with their body vertical. So when somebody sets their dog in the pool, the first thing I do is I pull forward on the leash enough to make them go horizontal. It's a big pull.
Yeah.
It's a big one. It's now you're not being jerky with the leash.
Right. You're not
it's
drowning them. You're
just a steady pull forward, and you're reeling them in somewhat like you would a fish on a boat. You're just pulling them towards you. You want to make sure the rope's not getting in their feet.
Right.
If the rope's getting in their feet, you're jumping in the pool, which is fine. If you got to jump in the pool, you jump in the pool.
You could do this in the pool, right?
Well, it's better if you don't do it in the pool.
If you're not in their coast, so they don't come and cling to you.
You don't want them coming to you. That's exactly why I never have the person in the pool.
Okay.
I always have them on the other side of the pool, and they set the dog in the pool. And when they do, I lead them to the steps about 10 times.
Got it.
So the first few times that I do this, some dogs look like they're stressed a little bit. They look like, oh my God, I'm in the pool.
Right.
And they have this look of panic. So I lead them over to the steps. I make sure that they find the steps and they walk out of the steps. When they do, Mom and Dad are usually with me. We're over there petting and praising the dog and giving them a treat if they'll take it. And so after we do this about 5 or 6 times, I would say over half of the dogs, when the owners take them back over there and they go to put them in the pool, their feet are already moving and they're trying to jump out of Mom and Dad's arms toward the pool.
They know where they're headed now.
Because dogs love to be in the water. And so I remember last week we found my old Canine Courtesy tape.
Yeah.
And this tape is 23 years old.
You played a clip last week.
I played a clip, and of course, I'm all young and studly. Now I'm old and studly. And but in that video are 2 Bichon Frises. The owner has, and only one of them was in the video. But I remember that she had a pool, and it was probably about 60 degrees outside. It was still very cold, but the dogs were jumping in the pool. So I said, it's time to teach them to get in the pool, because she heard them barking and she ran outside and they were swimming around in a panic and they couldn't find the steps.
Yeah. And
so we did this exact same thing. Every time they came out of the pool, she's wrapping them in a towel because it's freezing, and so,
Could be
me. But the end result was, when I went back and I shot this video, I remember that day, I said, how are they doing with the pool? And she looked at me, she goes, can't keep them out of it.
And so, I don't blame them. You can't keep me out of a pool when you got one.
When a dog knows how to get in and out of the pool, they will take some time to get in that pool. And when it gets really hot outside, they're definitely going to be doing that. All right. And so what's funny is we can now, because of my new technology, we can now see Chip Auger, who I know from way back when, with a Weimaraner. He had a Weimaraner that would not leave his side for 1 second. And we employed some training to teach the dog to stay at a distance from him and to help the dog be more balanced. So I remember you, Chip. And so when we when we're teaching a dog to get in and out of the pool, I go to that location in the pool and I do it about 10 times. Then we move location further from the steps.
Oh.
And the dogs get great at coming to the steps. So what do you think happens after we do every possible angle and we put the dog in the pool? What does the dog do?
It goes to the steps.
They go straight to the steps every time until
steps aren't there.
Close.
They can't get to them?
When we put the dog in the pool and we're at the same end of the pool we put them in, they don't go to the steps.
They come back to you?
They come to us. So some dogs, when they're learning the steps, they're not learning the steps are in this corner of the pool. All right. And so this is backwards video. So they're not learning the steps are in this corner of the pool. They're learning that's where I'm standing. And I'm leading them with a rope. And then the owners are leading them with a rope. So at some point, I usually set up some type of a pulley system where if the steps are down there, we put the dog in the pool on this side of the pool. And we're able to use the rope to pull the dog away from us to go to the steps. And after we do that a couple of dozen times, the dogs figure it out. Now, there is one important part of doing pool safety training, and that is to let the dog discover that the steps don't always work. So, for example, it's probably a bad way of phrasing it. The steps always work, but they have to learn that
can't work.
The steps are not all the way around the pool. And so once I've got the dog going to the steps, and they do it probably 7, 8, maybe 10 times, if they veer away from the steps, usually it's where mom is standing. If dad put the dog in the pool way at the end of this pool and mom is standing over here, the dog's coming toward me and says, "Forget Mark, I want to go to mom." And now if they like the pool, sometimes they'll swim in circles. And that happens
That's
too.
That's what I do.
Where I'm leading the dog to the steps and the dog veers off. So when a dog veers off from the steps and you have them on leash, it's occasionally okay to allow them to find the side of the pool without steps. I allow them to try to get out of the pool. Now, this seems mean. All right. I had somebody say, "Oh my God, he's scared." And I said, "I hope so." And so I said, "Don't forget, I'm the parent that's going to let my kid fall out of the small tree so they don't fall out of the large tree."
Right.
And so the idea was you allow them to struggle at the side of the pool for a few seconds. Then you help them in the right direction using your leash, always with a leash.
Yep.
And once you get them to the steps, they rarely make that same mistake 2 or 3 times.
Right.
Usually it's once or twice. Then after that, they don't do it anymore.
No, that's not enough.
But sometimes I have a dog that's panicked. It's always so cute when they do this because they seemed panicked at first. We're on repetition, maybe 12 or 15.
Yeah.
They veer off toward the side of the pool. And I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to let you struggle because I want you to know you cannot get out there. I'm going to let you try so you can learn that the only path out is these steps." All right. So I did this with the little Bichons. They got over to the side. Now, the water level was here and the pool level was up here. So they're pawing at the side of it. They can't reach the top.
Yeah.
They're this big, right? And so they're pawing at the side of it. And when they got a little nervous that they couldn't get out, I just turn them toward the steps.
Right.
And so it's pretty common that I tell the owners, now this time I'm going to let him find the side of the pool with no steps, and I'm going to let him kind of feel a little bit of stress over the fact that there are no steps there, because I want him or her to see this is the only spot where you're going to find steps. And so I'll never forget, I let this dog in Piper Glen veer off toward the steps, a little chocolate lap. And so he veered off away from the steps, actually. And I said, "There he goes. He's going to go to the side of the pool, and he's going to learn that
that's not the way to go.
There's no steps over there.
Right.
You've got to come back over here." And he just turned in a circle, and he swam toward her, and he turned in another circle, and he started biting at the waves, and he was having a ball. And so finally, after about 5 minutes, I said, "Let's bring him in." So I gave him a couple of nudges, and he came running.
He was like, "I'm good. I'm just going to hang out in the pool and swim."
So if your dog is obsessed with the pool, all right, so when you're let me back up because I'm jumping ahead. If your dog is learning the steps, the only way you can be sure that your dog knows the steps is you and your family or whoever's with you in the yard is at the end of the pool with no steps. You pick your dog up and set him in the pool. Mm-hmm. If he swims away from you, straight to those steps and gets out of the pool, repeatedly, mm-hmm. let's say you do it a dozen times throughout the course of an afternoon, and he's always swimming away from you or another dog to find those steps, and he's going straight to them repeatedly, he knows where the steps are. Yeah. Now, that does not account for exhaustion. So, years ago, I was training somebody's dog, and they canceled their training appointment. And so we called them, they left a message, and we called them the next day. When I got there, nobody was there. So I didn't know they canceled. I went to their home, and I left a note on the door. And so the next morning we called them, and they said, well, we were gone because our dog drowned yesterday. And they had a Chesapeake Bay Retriever. So what those of you who are not Chesapeake Bay Retriever owners may not know is that some Chesapeakes are so obsessed with water that they lose their mind at the very mention of it.
Yeah, I thought that was a lot of the dock diving dogs are Chesapeake, aren't they?
This would be one reason why. One, they're very powerful. They can jump like crazy, and they're highly driven to go after their toy. And dock diving is about sprinting and jumping for distance, or jumping for height, or swimming speed in order to retrieve their toy. So you can almost not pick a better breed for that because they love it. Now, I personally had a Chesapeake Bay Retriever. Me and my ex-wife owned one, Drexy, and Drexy was a great dog. And Leslie taught her to do a whole ton of things. But when we would go to her dad's house, who has a pond, Drexy would swim for hours.
Oh, I bet.
And she would come out of the pond, lay down on the side of the pond, and she would lay there for an hour before you could even hardly get her up.
She was so tired from swimming.
She was so tired from swimming. And so if you have a dog that loves the pool or the lake this much, and they swim all the time, when you're not around, you can actually put them in a life preserver. And so Drexy would wear a life preserver at her dad's house when we weren't around. Now, there's a downside to that. Because if you take a dog that's not a great swimmer, and you put them in a life preserver, and they swim in a life preserver over and over and over again, and get in the habit of jumping off the dock.
They think that they've got it on all the time.
Jumping in the pool and swimming, and then they jump in without it, and they sink like a rock.
Right, they're used to it.
Because they're not used to it. So when it comes to pool safety, again, she doesn't like it when I talk about these numbers. 5,000 dogs and cats a year, on average, in the United States die in a backyard swimming pool. Not all of them are in-ground pools. Now, my brother has a beautiful pool. We spent the day the other day, Father's Day.
We spent past 3 days there, yeah.
And so when we go over to the pool, of course, there's a deck, but that deck has stairs. So now his dogs are experienced with the pool. They know how to get in and out of the pool. Ruckus doesn't. So if we took Ruckus there and put him up on that deck, or we were inside, and Ruckus fell in the pool, it's very likely he'd be stuck there unless he happened to find the ladder that's this wide. So in a situation like that, even with an above ground pool, you have to have a caution there. I had an above ground pool for years when my children were smaller, and I bought a ladder that folded up. And so I folded the ladder up, and I wrapped a bicycle lock around the ladder and locked it because I didn't even want to take a chance that my children would get in that pool. You can't imagine me doing something like that.
No, not at all.
Mr. Safety.
Right.
It's like seatbelts. Right. What are you doing without your seatbelt? And so when it comes to the pool, 5,000 animals die there. More children die than animals. And so it's one of those things where you just have to realize that it can be you. People think, oh, yeah, that doesn't happen to me. I had somebody that worked for me years ago, and she told me that she lost a toddler to a pool, and she was devastated by it. This was before she met me, but this was a very horrible thing to go through for the toddler and for her. And so it's just one of those things. When it comes to swimming pools, don't think that you can't teach your dog to get in and out of the pool. You have to. You have to teach them to get in the pool. If you can't figure out how to do it, call me. I'll walk you through it. you're local, I'll come out and help you do it. But the idea is your dog needs to be able to find those steps and get to the side of the pool as quickly as possible. So anyhow, with that being said, that's kind of most of what I wanted to talk about tonight, because I noticed that my brother said he went to the pool store, and when he walked in the pool store, he said I was the only one with a mask. And so, which is funny, because my brother's kind of the mindset of it's time to get rid of this quarantine if it's safe, right? And so, but he said the pool store was absolutely crowded, and there was a line.
Right.
So everybody's wanting to open up their pools. They've probably been open for longer than I realized, because since the house fire, I haven't had a pool.
Don't have your pool, yeah.
And so,
well, we've been enjoying your brother's.
Yeah, my brother's invited us over to use his pool, and we're keeping our social distance. But the bottom line is that teach your dog to find the steps in that pool. And obviously, if you have kids, you want them learning to swim. The safety precautions they really push nowadays are one on the door, so there's a loud chime on your back door, a fence around the pool, even on the inside of your yard. If I had a toddler in an in-ground pool, I would have the child safety fence. I don't care what it costs, I would have it. And then the other part of it is, on your gates, now if you put in a pool, you can't just put in a chain link fence with a latch.
No.
They have a special latch that's 4 feet in the air, and it's made to be difficult for toddlers and smaller children to get in the pool.
Right.
And what's funny is, I just got to say one thing. People think, well, kids shouldn't be in my yard anyway. So we're sitting here at Shelley's one day, and one of the neighborhood kids, sweet kid, she says, "What do you got in that room up there?" Talking about Shelley's got what looks like a dollhouse in the backyard.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's like a shed that looks like a little dollhouse.
Yeah, I think
and she said, "What do you got in that room up there?" And I said, "Well, there's some gas cans and a couple of chairs." And she goes, "Well, how do you get in it? I couldn't get in it." And I just sort of looked over.
No, we were like, "Why are you trying to get in the dollhouse?" Like,
right. But she's a little kid, and so that's what little kids do. They explore around, and they're like, "Oh, what do they have in the shed?" And this is a great kid. She's a funny kid in the neighborhood, and she talks with all the other kids, and we see them out there all the time. But be aware, nowadays they have these rules so that when you put in a fence around the pool, it has to have these special locks on it. And if you're installing a pool and you already have a fence, you may have to upgrade your gate to carry these special locks. And now we know why. So there's so many of those. So with that being said, that's all I got this week. And next week, if we can work out the technical bugs, we're trying to have one of our veterinarian friends come on the show. If I'm able to pull it off, we will have Dr. J here from Carolina's Medical Center. Dr. J specializes in all types of veterinary care, but the clinic itself specializes in dentistry. And so we're going to be able to ask a whole bunch of questions. If I can't pull off the technical issues of it, maybe we'll just get Dr. J to call us on the phone. Yeah. So anyway, so there you have it. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully all this stuff worked. We came in a little late, but we worked it out.
I don't know how to turn this off.
So we're going to try to hand me the remote. So I have this handy dandy remote, and this usually works like a charm. So it's got a little button here that says stop streaming. So I'm going to push the button, and we're going to see you guys next week, and we're going to remember same dog time, same dog channel. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.